Hi, and welcome to a GC9x Plays. I'm KaL. We're looking at the atmospheric horror train game Fear Equation, and with me today is...
This is Snarbu.
And I'm Mr. Origin.
I'm Bobinator.
And, yeah, as I said, this is like a train game sort of thing. And it has built-in Twitch streaming for some reason, which is very
I noticed more and more games are doing that lately. Gotta
that's
get that
peculiar.
esports cash, I guess.
MLG Pro Fear Equation runs.
So how long is it?
How many people do I have to kill today?
How long is it until we see a game that has built-in face cam support or built-in scare camming?
Doesn't a couple of games already have something similar to that? Like I know at least the games that came with cameras had they uploaded your pictures. Hey, there's that porn game that if you pirate it, it takes your photo using your webcam and then puts it on the developer's site, and then you have to pay the money to take it down.
I just started remembering something
count?
actually.
What happens if you don't have a camera?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't work. But I mean, it's Japan, so maybe everyone has a camera, so it's a lot more ubiquitous.
I was gonna.
Anyway.
I was gonna say.
Yes?
Midway made a game back in the 80s that was
game.
supposed to have a camera on it, but more about that later potentially.
That was the Journey game, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
they started off using the face scanning tech
then
was supposed to be used for something else, but then someone flashed the camera, so they just scrapped it and just made that one thing, using it to capture the band members' faces. That's also why the perfect
so
head
I
function.
see we're in a bed right now?
Yes. So we start in the bed. This is inside the train. You will not be leaving this carriage for the duration of the game.
So is this the conductor cabin or whatever it's called? I forget what it's called on it.
Yes, whatever it's called, it is the train driver's, like...
Hang on a moment, is this pre-rendered?
No, it's not pre-rendered, which, would be... I think it would be funnier if it was pre-rendered. You'll... Look, okay, I'll move the camera around you.
Looks pretty convincing, just looking at the fixed angles.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool, because it's almost Myst-esque, just with actual free camera movement. That's kind of neat.
I mean, one of the main reasons it looks pre-rendered is they're using some very high-resolution textures, because you don't get any other textures in this game. Okay, now since I have played this game before, and I don't know if I can delete all my data, basically, you do have like a very basic sort of post-it note sort of system that tells you where to look to sort of progress through the game and sort of get used to the layout of the carriage and what you actually have to do. We're not going to see that because, as I said, I've already played this game a little bit. Well, I finished it, actually. It's kind of a lie. I didn't play it a little bit. I played it for about 5 hours. So we'll just have to, like, sort of trust that I know what I'm talking about. So the game's manual, because I keep opening these things, basically there's no actual sort of tooltips in this game. There's no sort of external manual, unless you count, like, the forums for the website. It's full of all these, like, instructional books. And yes, you pretty much have to read every single one of these instructional books in order to function well in the game. If you like reading in your games, this is gonna, really kick ass.
Is that an Apple II keyboard?
Sorry, no, I'm illiterate.
Let's have a look down here. That's a keyboard.
Yeah, this
nice
modeling
That's
is
supposed
really
to be an
cool.
Apple II or what?
But, so, we are inside the train, and a horrible fog has destroyed most of society. Yes, it's a post-apocalyptic train game, which,
I feel like that's been
There's
done
two
recently.
games that
Hasn't
did
there
that,
been
weren't
something
there? Or there's a
involving
game in development that's supposed to be published.
I think this one came out first, yeah, so this one's the first of them. So here is, if you want, you can pause this, you can read about the fog, and sort of like the general stuff of the game. Basically, you're trying to escape this fog that destroyed all of society by making their nightmares real. But only inside the fog. If you're not in the fog, you're safe. Which is the important thing about this carriage, which is a sort of, what is it? Hermetically
sealed?
Hermetically sealed.
That's specific.
It's got its own airflow and all that stuff.
You're completely sealed from the outside world, and so are considered 100% safe. It's very important. The game stresses to you that you are safe, because the nightmares can't get into you for some reason. I don't know why the rest of the train isn't like that, but anyway. So we only have really one option at the moment, which is to attract some survivors, because we have to travel along this whole map to get to the safety sort of point here. So,
Do you know what this is starting to remind me of all of a sudden? Does anyone remember Transantarctica?
Yes, also known as Arctic Baron.
I'm pretty sure Snabu wanted me to play that kind of as a response to this game, and I don't know if I want to, but yeah, so it is very much like a train game. Alright, so let's launch the beacon.
So, okay, so so the fog makes nightmares come real. Okay, I can understand that. But what if it's like a naked clown convention? What if that's someone's nightmare? I mean, is that really scary so much as it is disconcerting?
I think that the fog might influence people's nightmares as well,
Wow.
so that their nightmares are, you know,
So they're naked clown
scary
conventions,
things.
and the clowns have knives for arms. Okay, got it.
Yeah, like that would probably be the direction it would take. Okay, so this is our emergency flare. You can only do this when you have no survivors. So basically, you fucked up if you had to use this outside of this point. So we got 5 survivors. A lot of this is prod gen in this. Lots of procedural generation. So these are just randomly generated names. Anne Lewis, Jerry Hill, Sarah Thomas. I don't know if the whole name is generated or if it's last name and first name, because I think I recognize some of these. Anyway, so we have some supplies as well. They came with a shotgun, a lamp, and medical supplies, which is pretty good. Because that's, you know, that's good. So now
I
we
assume
can
you're
have...
going to need stuff
Yes.
like a shotgun lamp, because eventually you're going to have to go outside at some point.
Well, I won't, but these saps will. Okay, so basically this is going to look like a whole mess of nonsense to everyone, because there's so much reading in this game to sort of get... It's the biggest criticism I would have easily, is that there's so much reading in this game to sort of follow what's going on. Okay, as you can see, we've got some scrap, food, medical supplies, you know, the stuff that they brought is this 3 things here, and you started with this. No recent events. This is the carriages. There are 10 carriages in the train. Each carriage can hold 15 people? I think is the number. I think each one can hold 15. Yes, it's 15 for a total of potentially 150 people.
What is that odd
So
grid
let's
for exactly? The one with the little circles on it.
Let's get started on the grid then. If you want to jump ahead to the freaking grid. Okay, so there are 3 grids that you can see. And there is the factions grid, the train skills grid, and the mission skills grid. Now, train skills and mission skills are pretty obvious, you know, like, some people are better at repairing, some people are better at upgrading, you know, some people are better at medical. That makes sense, right? That's pretty easy. Mission skills are kind of the same. Some people are better at carrying stuff back, some people are better at finding stuff, some people move through buildings faster, and some people are better at holding the fog at bay. You know, it all makes sense. Factions are confusing as shit. Basically, everyone who's in this situation of the fog, there are no neutral parties allowed, for whatever reason, believes something of the fog. Like, they're all fanatics about it. So they either believe that the fog is kind of a punishment or like an adversary or something. Some believe it's a natural phenomenon. Some believe it's a punishment. Some people think it's because of man. Some people think it's not. And everyone is kind of a variant of these sort of things. It reminds me of the religion system in Afterlife, in LucasArts Afterlife, where everyone is just kind of leans towards different beliefs in this
I hope
game.
there's not like 20 different factions in this.
No, thankfully there's only effectively 4, as you can see here.
I mean, it looks like it's on
now
some sort of scale, so you can believe it's a natural disaster and man-made or something like that, rather than divine.
That's right. Now the main, like, we can basically safely ignore this right now, but the main thing that this thing does is, people of different factions don't necessarily like people of other factions. And that can lead to a lot of infighting in the train itself, and can get people killed. So we got this lottery, and I'll just hit autofill, and all that does is, and that's me basically talking to the carriage, and basically telling them that those 5 names that showed up on that list are the 5 people who will have to go off the train if there's a stop and people go off the train for today. So that's what that is. Then you get a set of extra options. You can move passengers to different carriages. You can make them move cargo or dump it. you can upgrade the train, which is important, so we might get started on that in a bit. And you can build defenses for the carriage. Hey, this is great. The carnival's in town. It connects with your clown fear. That's really good.
Hoo boy.
So
Did Starbucks spoil the game?
no, not really. I can't really think. So you get this. I know I'm covering so much here of the game's content, and it would take like 30 minutes to read all this. So please forgive me for being a little bit rattling on here. So you get these dream logs, and again they're procedurally generated. So let's just read the top one. There were others. I was at a supermarket. I think someone's whistling. He'll get what he wants one way or another. Another man. Looks the same. They both leave. Wow, what a nightmare. So yeah, basically, as you can see, it's listing the salesman and the carnival. So basically, the people in this carriage, even though they just got on, but we'll forgive it for that, are basically likely to have nightmares about the salesman and the carnival. And I can totally accept that. That's perfectly rational. So that means that when the fog attacks, and it will attack, is that it will either manifest as the salesman or the carnival. So what we want to do is go down to build defenses and go, alright, well, we need to protect against the carnival or the salesman. And it looks like we can either build defenses. We only have scrap. Yes.
How do you protect yourself against specifically a carnival?
Well, this looks like they use open flames. As you can see in the little text underneath, it says, open flames, targets the carnival. And against the salesman, you use fake supplies. I like the idea that they'll build fake supplies, so let's make them build some fake supplies for the carnival. Now, having set that to build, this layout has now shifted a bit. Basically, passengers influence each other, so that carriages kind of change their allegiances over the course of the game. And then this extra thing popped up called Force Repair, which is basically, if people aren't doing anything in a carriage, they'll start repairing it if it's broken. But if you don't want to make them stop building by canceling the order, you can select Force Repair in order to shift them straight back to repairing, because they won't repair on their own if they're building something. And as you can see, it's a little bit hard to see because this is the furthest one from us, but you can see that you can see basically the information we just got, along with the health it has, the integrity, and the amount of power it's receiving from the train. They don't have anything that consumes power at the moment, so we're not going to worry about that. Alright, so then we have to go to here, presumably, since we are now going to set where the train needs to go.
So can you ever see the other passengers?
No. You cannot see the other passengers. Well, that's a half-truth. You can see them top down as little dots, but you can never... Oh, you can see pictures of them. You don't see them in 3D. I'll go look at them later. So, we need to get to this yellow flag here, which is cutely listed as Salvation ? So, fantastic. It will take... What is it? What day is it? It's the 28th of January. It will take until 28th of February to get there at medium speed, and it will require 26 fuel. We have 10 fuel, so that's not quite enough to make it all the way there. So we're gonna have to look at this and break down where we should go in order to get more fuel, and more food, and more passengers, because we don't want to start a new society with 5 people. That would
not good for long-term population growth.
Now, since this thing has already laid out a town right near us called Meansville, which I believe was from GTA, we'll head there, and we'll go there nice and... actually, we won't go there medium speed. Alright, so we'll head there. It'll take 1 fuel, but the condition here is that we'll arrive at 10 p.m. Now, you can't send people out at night, because the fog's worse at night, and they'll die horribly. So, we'd much rather arrive there at 6 a.m. So we'll set our train to get us there at 6 a.m. by taking the slow speed. And it won't arrive much different day, so we'll be fine. We hit the route plot, and then the train starts up. You can see it's
Do you have any kind of time limit?
not particularly, as the time doesn't progress until you basically input an action. I believe it very, very, very slowly ticks ahead. Effectively, it ticks ahead in real time.
Okay, just making sure it's not like an FTL kind of thing.
No, but you can actually interact with it in real time. I can grab the throttle and make it faster, and I can implement the brake. There's very, very rarely a need to, outside of a couple of specific circumstances. And this is the train. You can see it moving with a bit of rear projection there, I assume. You know.
Very overwhelming game already. I have no idea what questions to ask because it's like there's just so much to take in.
I'm just gonna keep explaining the game because that's really the only way to handle this thing.
Okay, those are your dudes up there.
Yeah, there's the dudes that are on the train. We got this guy, this guy, that girl. Someone who looks almost the same as that girl, but with less eyebrows.
And a wider jawline.
Are the faces procedurally generated too, or something?
The faces are procedurally assigned. I believe they just took a bunch of pictures of people in wherever they're from. This is an Australian development team, so I don't know where they are. I don't think they're from Sydney, so I assume they're from Melbourne or Brisbane. I didn't actually check, but whatever. That'll be fine. I think they're Australia-based. I'm pretty confident they are. So yeah, they think they just took a bunch of people that they knew and took their photos, or went and got a bunch of stock photos or something. Doesn't really matter. These are the faces. I don't know how many repeats there are. I don't recognize any of those offhand, so there's definitely at least a few. Now then, to take more in. As you can see, we've got this button called comms. So we actually have a radio, which lets us tune into different frequencies. So what we want is we'll tune into, let's have a look, supplies. Yeah, we'll go with supplies. That sounds fine. I believe supplies are supplies of food and medical supplies. Resources are stuff to improve the train. I don't know what fuel falls under. The only question at the moment that had been, put on the developers' forums was, hey, is fuel a resource or a supply? And no one replied.
Right.
So now, what is the mission radio for? I noticed help. Like, obviously, that's probably people asking for help. What is mission?
Yes. That's when we send people out to gather supplies and resources.
Okay, so you can listen in on how well they're doing.
Yes, and you don't really get a choice. You kind of have to listen in. Alright, so that's all that. We've pretty much done everything you need to do for a successful day on the train. So what I'll do is I'll press tab. We go into fast warp mode, and now we've moved to the next progression. It's now 6 p.m. at night. The train is ticking along, and as a handy feature, no matter where you are, if you press tab, you get flung straight to your bed. Now we can go to sleep.
And you can only sleep at night, I assume.
I love how it's like almost like a faux pre-rendered adventure game kind of thing. I love that look.
It looks like it's really convincingly pre-rendered, but it's entirely in real time.
And it looks like we've woken up and nobody has been horribly murdered overnight. We would know if that had already happened, so we're good.
I assume you would have heard their screams, so that's good to know.
And let's click this again. Let's jump over to here, open the screen, and as you can see, they are about 52% of their way through building fake supplies, whatever that entails. You don't have to do the lottery every day, it's not mandatory. And you can also rig the lottery, so if I didn't want Sarah Thomas, I could just discreetly remove her name, and then pick someone else to fill in the list. But since, you may have noticed we only have 5 people on the train, I'll just click autofill again, because it makes no difference. We only have
Is there like a chance we'll find out if you rig it?
I have not rigged the lottery very often, and have not triggered anything that says otherwise. That's one of my issues with the game. I'm not really sure if it does enough to really put pressure on you to not just be a totalitarian overlord, because that's effectively, you know, it's your way or the highway in a lot of ways in this game. So I don't need to send out a fresh lottery because it's the same 5 people.
I'm wondering.
Now then,
I'm wondering if that's the point, though, is that you're supposed to basically be very pragmatic and very sociopathic about how you approach the game and survivors.
It certainly could be. So we should be almost there. So let me just speed it up. And there we go. The train automatically stops when it gets to a location. Unless the game bugs out, which I have had the game bug on me a couple of times, including a bug which I'm pretty sure killed every single person on the train. So
Well, that's a really good bug.
How did that happen?
I went to bed and then woke up and everyone was already dead. And that's never happened before or, you know, since. So I'm not really sure.
Are you sure it's
about
not like
that
a
one.
random event or something?
I can't help but think a random event that kills like 50 people for no reason might be a little extreme.
They must have had
You
one
never
hell
know
of a
with
party.
these sort of games, honestly.
But I wouldn't have had any way to defend against it. Okay, so the train is now stopped and we should be at a location. So if we hit the lock button. Oh, right, we're not in work phase yet. Of course, let me jump out. You can see the phases up here. Lottery, orders, work, and guard. So if I press tab, it'll go to work. Ah, there we go. The beep beep beep, which means we're at a place. Sweet. Okay. So now we can check out the locations, and we have a full setup to help us work out what's going on. As you can see, the radio just automatically tuned into mission. Everyone up here is blinking green, and that means that they're alive and ready to go. So we have an analysis of the 3 places, that we can go to. This one has 5 rooms. That's where I got 5 from. It's pretty big, or I don't know what square meters are. I mean, I live in meters, but whatever. There are 2 survivors on radar, which means we can get some more people for the train. There's no fearless. I'll explain those later. There's 1, 2, 3 areas here that have high fog levels. And what that basically means is when the fog shows up, because it's not, it doesn't start there, but when the fog shows up, those areas are basically super danger zones where people will probably die. And then it says our time window is 1:30, approximately, and our accessibility is high, which is good, because that means it's pretty easy to get to where we want to go. And we'll click here. And again, similar deal, it's moderate, so that one might be the first one to check out, and there's 8 survivors there. I think that's 8, it could be 0. Let's see if the pub has a number in it. The pub has 6, so I have no idea. Accessibility is very high, so we'll probably do that one second. Basically, you can go to every location, but you can only go to every location once per area, and the fog and the amount of time you have in an area decreases with each mission you attempt. Now, you may have noticed that it says engines on, fog will thicken quickly. Now, that's because we do have an option here to turn off the engine and then run on the battery, and then that will let us slow down the fog. But we have to move quickly, because once we turn it off, the game actually becomes slightly time-based, and until we enter the mission screen, the battery will actually run down. So we want to get back on the mission screen.
And do you lose? You run out of battery?
You are fine, because you are in a sealed chamber, but anyone inside the train may be killed horribly. Now, we should be okay, technically, because these 5 people are outside of the train, and we don't have anyone else, but just to be sure, we'll, I don't really think we want to go to the chemist, because that's kinda meh. Medical supplies, we have a few medical supplies, and we don't have that many people, so we should be alright. So, I'm thinking we should probably go to check the hardware shop, because it has the hardest accessibility, which means we'll need the longest there. And, then we'll get some fuel,
Now,
hopefully,
is time
'cause they
window
probably
how
won't
much
have
time you have to explore a place, or how long it takes to explore that in real time?
That's how long you have to explore until the fog thickens, and the fog, they die. Like, they die very quickly, very, very quick, like, harshly, so just, you want to be out before it really shows up. You can see all these percents, these are just numbers, but this Lewis character, you can see, is actually pretty amazing. Lewis has 79% haul, which means she can lift a ton of stuff, and she's got good searching, and she's got high speed, which is what Breach is. We don't really get to choose who does what right now, because we only have 5 people, but we'll hand the shotgun off to someone. It adds 20% guard, so we'll just give that to someone else who we will probably set as a guard, which will be, well, probably this dude. And we'll give them the shotgun, and now you can see that their guard is 37%, and we got a lamp which adds extra search, so we'll just boost Lewis here, because that's good. We'll make them even better. Now we've moved to the plan. So this shows us the layout of the location. And you can see A is the start zone. You can see it all here. I know it uses an old-looking computer. Now, what we want is we want to probably get... This is the shop floor. We probably want to get to the storeroom here, because that might have some good stuff in it. And we can access this shop floor. Anywhere else, it'll probably take too long to get there. But I'll hit the radar button. There are no survivors on this map, so that was a 0 and not an 8. Which is good, because that means that all we have to do is tell our people... Let's see. Just search. Anne was the fastest, so we'll just send... See? Look at this. Even with, you know, even at this very close location, it's going to take this person a minute 30 to get to the inside of here and then leave again. That's a long time.
So you don't want to do that.
And we'll do it because the battery is off, which means that we have a window of 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Not the battery, sorry, the engine's off. But we don't want this mission to go too long, so we'll set them pretty low. Now this is our super quick, ultra mega fast searching person, so we'll send her into the storeroom, and she can do the same journey, but to the storeroom in a minute 32. That sounds pretty good.
And is that the way there and the way back, essentially, is the total time?
Yes. And that's important, because you'd basically never get anyone home.
Hmm.
So we'll just send all these people to just search the storerooms, and hopefully... can this guy do this? Oh, he's a bit slow. He's got good search, but he's a little slow, so... This guy's really slow, so let's just put him in the front of this. And I'll hit the start mission. And what it's done is it is... Oh, you know what? I'll show you the fog camera. I'm sure you're wondering what the fog button does. The fog button basically shows you the same information you got from the location scanner, which is like... The fog is thick in these areas. So when the fog rolls in and you're in any of these rooms, you basically die. Unless someone is guarding. We're not guarding this time because we're not doing that, and we don't need guarding for its other ability. So we're just going to hit start. Let's prioritize fuel, because that's why we're at the hardware store. And we'll prioritize resources as well, because we're going to try and get food from the bar, or pub. And we'll hit confirm, and there we go. Mission's on. The people are away. And
this is where you watch them?
Yeah, and you can see the dots moving on the screen here, and you can see my battery right here, and that's going to tick down to a terrifyingly low level because we haven't upgraded it yet, so there's a little bit of pressure. I hope it doesn't run out.
Now I have a quick question. That thing below the computer monitor, the copper pipe, does that do anything? Because I noticed there's a green button on it. Is that a warning of some kind?
Yes, the pneumatic tube. We'll see what it does when the mission ends, actually.
Ah, okay.
So.
This seems like a really cool setup. I like the interface.
This game is basically 90% interface and atmosphere graphics. There's not a lot of stuff outside.
Yeah, it's really stylish.
I can appreciate that. It's kind of a neat
Mhm.
idea.
Now, I don't know if they found anything other than scrap, so this may not have been the best mission ever, but a good one to sort of show the basics without getting everyone killed, hopefully.
Well, that's important.
Somewhere over here, there it is. That's the fog monitor, and now that it's blinking yellow, it means we're getting dangerously close to the fog rolling in. And at some point, it might start blinking red by the time we reach the end of the mission. And as you can see, my battery is getting perilously low at the moment. A bit of flavor text just shot up. There's not enough flavor text to really feel like you care about the people on the train, but there's a
I
little
can't
bit.
tell. Is that sound effect English?
No, it's more like Simlish. And there we go! The purpose of the pneumatic tube.
Ah.
Yeah, so you get to... They send you information on what happened, and we, get to find out some stuff. Oh, we found a backpack! That's really nice. They must have added these achievements since I played the game, because I already did all this. Anyway, no one died, duration was 1:42. You'll notice that that is actually slightly longer than the predicted time for anyone, so gotta be careful about that. The time is an estimate. It's not 100% accurate, so, you know, if you put it down to the wire, you could find people dying. You can see that all this stuff, we got a lot of scrap, and they... Whenever someone goes out, they can claim things for their carriage if they want, and generally they will, unless their carriage is full. Scrap's not super useful, but it's pretty fine. Machine parts are nice, and some food is always good to find. So now, let's quickly rush off to turn the engine back on, because we need the power.
So,
Will the battery recharge eventually?
The battery will, but not while we're parked here, because we're not moving, so the time is going to progress very slowly. But the battery won't go down on the next mission.
But you have less
So
time
that's
as a
the
result
most
because that attracts the fog.
You're right. But we shouldn't need too much time to get our greedy mitts into the food supply. So, an 18% haul bonus, or sorry, 10%. I keep reading those zeros as 10s, which means we'll give this to Lewis, since she's the fastest, and therefore the most likely to make good use of it. I should note that every carriage has its own set of items, so effectively you cannot get items from other carriages if you don't have one of those people in the outgoing search list, i.e. carriages won't say, oh yeah, just take my shotgun, I'm cool if you just come and take it. No. You have to have people from the carriage you want the items to take from in the exploration party. Okay. How long is this gonna take? I don't like this. Did they lie to me about the, speed of this? No, we're good. I can do this. It seems like they move faster in this level, I guess. Since we can do this in, you know, this girl can get there in 16 seconds, which is, good enough. We can handle that. Even if it's just her, that's all we need. So then, let's have a look at the radar. Alright, there's 4 survivors here, and 1 unlucky sap over here. And there's no way we're getting to that guy, so... They're gonna die a grisly death, but... you know, none of my business. So, she's the best at searching, and she can search this whole area, and she can do it just in time. And if we set it to 10 seconds, we got a good amount of time to spare, so that'll be good.
I'm assuming that higher skill levels for searching means it takes less time, or does it mean you find more stuff, or...
Actually, you can see that this window of their search is much wider. This is the search for the character who has a lower search, and see how tiny his little box is compared to hers?
So search affects essentially how quickly they can search a large or a certain area, and it increases.
Yes.
So they can search the
Yes, it
same number of
depends.
rooms much faster than a slower person can.
Yes, so you definitely want to, sort of fiddle with the numbers a bit. Alright, so this person...
So, since you have, like, a shotgun, do your survivors ever get into combat situations?
Not really. It is very much just a numbers thing. And this guy will set to guard. He might die. There's a risk he'll die, but I'm willing
What
to...
does guarding do exactly?
Well, he might die because I'm going to make him stay longer than 1 minute 23. So, it's risky, but I'm willing to do it. What guarding does is, if you're inside the guarded area, and the fog rolls in, you have a much, much lower chance of dying while you're in that guarded area.
So he'll be
I'm not quite sure...
covering their escape?
Well, he's actually going to use the secondary function of guard, which is anyone inside his circle that's a civilian waiting to be rescued, or, just hanging out. If you activate a guard and they're inside the circle, they will join you. They'll just immediately join you.
Huh.
Whereas otherwise you have to enter the room that they're in and be like, hey, jerk, come on. So we'll, let's see, that this person's super slow. They're real risk here. Let's check the fog layout. What are we looking? Okay, this fog is pretty dense. Little bit concerned, but hopefully we don't lose Lewis. That's really it. I don't care about anyone else.
You're a real hero.
Anyway.
Well, it's clearly a numbers game, Bob. You have to basically treat people as commodities based on what I'm seeing here, and they probably made this game they probably made most of the scenarios very depersonalized. Like, you're just looking at numbers and a computer screen on purpose.
Yeah, like Dwarf Fortress, kinda.
Right, you have to consider that that you're basically dealing with real people, but they've been reduced to essentially just pawns in a game.
There's a couple of other games to start to remind me of. There's Capsule, if anyone remembers that. That came out recently, I think.
I think so.
There was one other game where you're like controlling like Space Marines, but you're only seeing it from a console. Remember the name of that? It was pretty recent. It's on Steam.
I think I know what you're talking about.
There's a couple of games that are definitely like this, set in space. And the creator's previous game itself, Dreadnought.
That might have been it, Dreadnought.
That's actually these guys' previous game. There is a different game that you control like robots and stuff, and it's got a similar sort of layout. This one, you don't have any control once they're actually in the mission interface. You kind of have to watch helplessly. We got a red blinking. Run, you sacks, run!
What's a yellow light mean? Are they in danger?
Well, yellow light means that, yeah, the fog is sort of getting a little bit heavy. The red blinking light means the fog is bearing down on them. And, they're all in yellow, so we're okay. Red is high danger, so if any of them go red... Oh, shit.
Oh, crap, they're all gonna die, aren't they?
Timothy's dead, but I think some people made it. Let's see who died. Timothy died. I don't care about Timothy! Yeah!
Charming.
Hey! Numbers game, people.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest here, I've thrown a whole lot of Eurists to their death in Dwarf Fortress, so I'm not one to talk.
This is sort of in the same mold as XCOM, I'm noticing, like, where your recruits are basically, some of them just get thrown into the meat grinder because you don't want to risk killing your best guys on some really lame mission, like, oh, a UFO was spotted in someone's backyard.
Yeah, this is basically what's gonna happen, is these people just sort of get dumped in, the thing. So we didn't lose any equipment either, and, I'm sorry Timothy died, but... Anne Lewis survived, and I like her. She's got the skills.
To pay the bills.
Yeah, and as you can see, we got 4 extra survivors, so realistically, we came out ahead, especially since we didn't lose any equipment. And we found a bunch of food, which has all been sent to Carriage 1, which is because the people in Carriage 1 claimed it. Now, what you'll notice down here, and this is important, 2 people of the survivors were claimed by Carriage 1, and 2 were not. So, presumably, those 2 survivors have a very diametrically opposed opinion about the fog, so they were just kind of dumped in the side carriage. Let's have a look at train 2. Yep. As you can see, the 2 people that were dumped in 2 are in, Well, I know this is Wrath of God down here, I think, is this lightning bolts, because that kind of looks right. I think this means, what is that, like, this looks like bioscience, so it's probably man-made, I guess, or, you know, our fault or something, I don't remember. It doesn't really matter, you just need to know that the symbols do stuff. And they do confer bonuses, so let's get on that now, you know, while we're here. As you can see, this carriage has now elected a leader. Now, the leader is kind of the strongest voice in the carriage, and that's what it means. There's more technical details that I really didn't even bother to learn, because they're buried in a bunch of books that are in the game that I kind of skipped over. Also, some of the information's not very clearly laid out in the game itself, so it's kind of hard to find some of this. Their faction is the Producers. All the factions have names based on what they believe in, so they're the Producers. And you can see that their bonus, and this is important, is building defenses and upgrading. That's really good, because it means that they'll be great at building their own protection and upgrading the train. The downside is you can't build defenses for someone else's carriage, so they kind of just help themselves, which, you know, is not super handy.
The Producers, huh?
And here is, yeah, it sounds suspiciously like, you know, BioShock in its presentation.
Wasn't that a Mel Brooks movie, The Producers?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yes. It was, yeah, about them making the Hitler musical, a Nazi musical. And so you can do a train overview if you don't want to poke around old trains. And this basically says that the chaos is how discordant the carriage is, like, are they about to kill me? No, we're good.
Can they kill
They're
you?
not concerned about... Yes, they can. It's actually one of the only ways to die in this game. Food supply, they're great. Injury, no one's hurt, they're great. Their concern is, this very bottom one is their concern, which means that the Producers are concerned about technology levels. I believe that means that they, since it's low, I think they get concerned if you start upgrading the train, which is not ideal, but I really don't care because you need these upgrades and they're fantastic. So
why would they
whatever.
be concerned about making the train better? That's bizarre.
It might be the opposite. They might be concerned if it's not upgraded enough. I don't know. It just says technology levels. It doesn't help me. And as this carriage has no leader, they're just currently like, we have no food. Because that's true, they have no food. Because those bastards in Carriage 1 took it all. So I'll tell them to share it tomorrow, and they'll get a bit pissy at me for it, but that's fine. Now, you can see this picture here. This shield means that they trust you, that they have faith in you, that they believe in you. And it also means that if someone doesn't, they'll kill them. I'm not even kidding. There's a function in this game called Purges, and basically, if people are faithful to you and disagree with other people on the train, they will actually attempt to kill those people. This picture here is the neutral picture. And according to the developers, from what I read, they think that you should kind of try and sit on neutral. I've never had a big problem sitting on positive, but who knows.
Why do you want to be
this is
neutral and not positive?
because neutral people don't purge people. They don't try and kill other people on the train for not believing the same thing that they do.
Okay, you want to keep your guys who are good, who might be neutral.
Yes, because there are, like, characters with special abilities, and you might have a really great character that gets purged out because these people in Carriage 1 decided they don't like him. So, we'll deal with that when it comes down to it. So, that's pretty much the end of that mission. We got enough supplies, but we haven't really gotten any messages about supplies. So we'll go back here, and let's set a new course. This is kind of annoying, because we haven't really received any messages about stuff that we could get to. What's in this town? School, police station, clothing store. None of those scream fuel to me.
Police station,
I don't
maybe.
want to run out of fuel.
Yeah, I was going to say, the police station probably also has some reasonably skilled personnel and supplies, but not fuel.
Well, they might have some supplies. I don't know how well the proc gen covers actually procedurally generating people relevant to the places.
I do have a quick question. Is this like FTL, where like the thing you're outrunning is moving on a horizontal axis and you want to keep moving forward rather than down?
I believe the fog is actually just kind of omnipresent, and the longer you spend in any area, the thicker it becomes. So it's sort of more, you don't want to keep going back to the same place, because it'll just get thicker and thicker with fog, and you'll have shorter and shorter mission times. So, I think what we'll do is, we'll take a slow train ride, or at least we'll start off slow. We'll speed up a little bit, as we get closer. A slow train ride to Pits. So let's hit the route. The brake is disengaged automatically, and the throttle has started.
Now, I forget, you already mentioned this, but when do you throw the brake? Is that right when you arrive, and it'll tell you?
You can throw the brake if something happens, and you're worried about it happening. Like, you can also try and force the brake if you're trying to stop at a specific place and it doesn't seem to want to let you. Or if the power goes out in the train and you have some problems, you might want to throw the brake to try and figure it out. I don't know. The brake feels more like it's there just because it's fun to have a brake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the interface
like
elements in this, I think, fall under, I forget the exact term, I think it's skeuomorphic. It looks like an actual thing.
Diagenic?
Yeah, something like that. Like they...
Yeah, skeuomorphism is what you're looking for. That's when something tries to mimic real-life features. A diegeic interface would be like something being printed onto the screen by something else, like, say, a smart pair of glasses or something.
Oh, so like Dead Space.
Yeah. Or like looking at a real-life example of
Okay.
Google Glass.
So what we have here is, you heard that chunk, 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 chink. This is the, they send you messages saying that they completed their fake supplies. Awesome, they built their fake supplies.
And then it turns out it's the clowns that are the big problem now, rather than the salesmen.
It could! We can check right now, actually. We can check the, their dreams and see if, Nope, the salesman has increased. They are slightly more afraid of salesmen now.
What does the salesman even
They've
do?
also
Does he, like, sell you, like... Is he trying to sell you, like, Tupperware or something? Except it's full of spiders.
It's just Vince Offer, and all he sells is haunted N64
I
cartridges.
noticed there's also pods and soldiers. Are they doing like pod people?
I think they're talking about pod people, but I think we can get details of that, when we, hover over it again. Okay, so that's another day successfully down. Let's jump over to here. Let's check the dream logs again. I'm not really worried about, the soldiers showing up. I think the soldiers is the other carriages. Because you can see average mentions train wide, and it's all the way over here. So I assume the soldiers, the other carriage, are terrified of soldiers. Okay. I'm not gonna read any of these, dreams out. If someone wants to read dreams, that's fine. These fears are all randomly generated as well. I think there's a fairly decent list of like 15 or 20 different fears that it pulls a random assortment from of 5. Because I actually have not seen any of these 4 before, in my couple of playthroughs of the game. So that's nice. So, let's for fun, let's just, clean out the lottery and, autofill it. And dispatch it. I don't know if I think it slightly alters the loyalty of, people in the train when you send out that carriage information. This dude is hungry, Mr. Matthew Evans, because he hasn't had any food. Unsurprising, because there's no food in their carriage. So I will ship them some food, which means we'll do move cargo, and we will say, send from carriage 1 to carriage 2, send them some food, you greedy bastards. And we will also get them to send some, scrap along to them, because otherwise they can't build their own defenses.
I'm assuming if you make them send too much stuff, it makes them like you less.
You are correct. It actually, yeah, I'll send some medical supplies as well, just in case they get attacked. It kind of makes them like you less, but it kind of raises chaos. Basically, there's this kind of silly sort of setting where it's like, basically, if they feel like they don't have control over their own destiny, they'll freak out and start rebelling against you, so you kind of have to balance orders with, not orders. I may have already tried to do too many orders already, But, let's take that risk. And send one more order to them.
Is there any way to tell if you're getting too orderly?
Yeah, the chaos setting will sort of tell you if you've, you might just need to calm down and let that carriage sort of control its own destiny. We have crappy defense against salesmen, so... But we could also get attacked by the pods, so let's build a defense against the pods, I think. Let's just... Scrapers, containment sacks, furnace, solvent spray, and heated surfaces. I think pods sound suspiciously like the eggs from Alien, actually. I don't know if that's where they're going with it, but... it definitely is like pod people, pods that eat people or something sort of deal. And we'll get them to do... We can actually send multiple orders at once, so... Let's tell them to do another one for the... You got two basic options. The scrap and the materials. And they basically are defenses that just sit there and they don't do anything to your train. You have machine parts, which consume extra fuel. Really good, but also be very careful because you don't want to run out of fuel. Electronics, which are excellent because they only consume a little extra power, and you can add extra power to them to enhance their ability. Just make sure that you don't have too many at once. And chemicals, which destroy the train in order to activate. And I think they kind of destroy it regardless of activation. But you can repair the train, so it's not a big deal unless you try and build too many again. So I might actually do that. We'll build a defense. Although I'm not sure if the carnival's gonna go away. So let's just build another salesman, you know? Let's do that. Let's build a exploding container to prevent the salesman. Nice. Alright, we'll go to carriage 2.
I still don't know what's scary about
jump.
salesmen, because I'm lost there.
Maybe it's supposed to be like Slender Man or something. Like it's just a really creepy guy in a suit, and like.
I think it's still just Vince Offer, but his ShamWows are just actually made of solid razors. And
Or like he uses the slap chop on your testicles or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
So where's
fine.
the chaos
That's
exactly?
all
Because you
done.
did mention the chaos.
Alright, let me open that menu again.
The city's chaos is
You
increasing.
bastards. As you see, there's no chaos yet. We might have more chaos next turn when I talk to them again, when we find out what their business is like. Okay, and there's really not much we can do today, actually, because we're just kind of sitting here at this point. So we'll just hit tab, and that's the end of this day. Let's, we haven't gotten any supplies emails, actually, which is a little bit, or supply radio messages, which is a little bit awkward. I was really hoping to pick up some of those.
What does error mean exactly? Is this just, does that mean you just went out of bounds or something?
Yeah, I just turned it the wrong way. It automatically goes back to the right way, so it's kind of silly. Because it's like, okay, that's silly, but whatever. Ah, good. If we change the speed to medium, we can get there at 10 a.m. on February 5th, which is 3 days faster. And I like that. So we'll speed it up a bit. Alright. And, let's hit the hay.
Now, does speed affect the, does that affect your survivors at all? Because obviously you have to deal with them for more days.
Speed drains more fuel. The faster you go, the more fuel it spends. And obviously the longer you take, the more fuel, the more food the people eat. So, you gotta kind of strike a balance depending on what your supplies are looking like. And let's have a look. They are busy building the exploding container. And you can see they've consumed some of the food. Each container of food can last a full carriage 2 days. Which is basically telling you if you have a bunch of full carriages, you run out of food and then you lose the game. Or you don't lose the game, but everyone dies. That's fiddly. So that's... And this is kind of where I sort of have to... be like, well... Not much is gonna happen now for a while, because... It's just more generally train maintenance. We just sort of click... you know, do the day thing, repeat, and oh, finally, something has happened.
Whoa.
It's on. Oh fuck! It's the salesman. My God.
Hi, it's Vince with Slapchop.
I am so
Ding dong,
terrified.
I'm here
by
to sell
Girl
you
Scouts.
Merkins.
Stop. Stop. No.
The LDS are at your door, but you're naked.
They won't stop the door. They just keep.
Though
Oh
Jim might
god,
say
they're
that's
actually
not an
really
obstacle.
annoying. Horror.
I'm glad that the horror we got was the like most pathetic of all of them.
Mm.
Okay, so let's see how many people died from. 2 people were injured by the salesman. That doorbell really fucked them over.
Their eardrums got ruptured
Wait.
by the doorbell.
I thought the train was supposed to be so nothing got in.
Just your carriage. Everyone else has got to fend for themselves. Don't question it. All right, it's not worth.
So wait, did the
So we lose anyone good?
No, no one died.
No, no one actually died. It's actually kind of hard to lose someone to nightmares because they're very random. So 2 people got injured. Who got injured? Jay Hill got injured, and he has got a permanent effect. Holy Jesus, he got amputated! Fuck!
He tried to shut the door on the salesman
Well,
and
you-
it chopped off his arm, clearly.
I
Yeah.
guess you could say those
Jesus
guys
Christ.
charge an arm and a leg.
I'm turning off the stream now. Bob ruined it. He killed it.
Oh my god.
Jesus, she got a moderate amputation from the fucking salesman.
God.
Fuck, they don't mess
Man, that Vault-Tec
around.
rep switched to some really aggressive tactics.
But
Okay,
wait, the
well,
first carriage
it's
actually
actually-
built defenses against the salesman. The second carriage had no
Yeah,
defenses.
but... I'm glad you talked like that. You see, the carriages that are attacked are only attacked if they're terrified of that thing.
Oh.
So... This carriage has shifted to salesman as well, for whatever reason, but they managed to deal with it. And I can only assume that it was luck and the fact that it hit the front carriage first, who have a much higher fear of salesmen. So, yeah. Basically, the dream is randomly picked from the set of current active dreams, and then only the carriages that have people who've dreamed of that will actually be affected
You
by
might
it.
want to
It's
build
very,
defenses against the soldiers, it looks like.
I am trying to. That's my current goal. And now that they've... Why did the salesman get through that easily? I have decent defenses against salesmen.
So what do injuries
Jesus.
affect exactly?
You could probably notice from the list over here, but basically, they're not good. In fact, the salesman is fucking terrible. This must be a joke, because, like, the more dangerous sounding ones do not deal as many injuries as these guys have previously. Basically, a permanent injury means you never lose it, and that's fair enough, because it's an amputation. And this nurse, that's really annoying, because, she had really high treat injuries, which means that after people were injured, she could help them, but apparently it doesn't work on the salesman, because they just cut your legs off. Basically, it shows you what they used to have and where their stats are now.
Oh, so that's
And,
like scar
with
tissue,
temporary-
essentially.
Yeah, and there's no way to fix that, because the temporary effects are... they're amputated. I can't fix it. So basically, people who have permanent injuries might find themselves on the wrong side of the train.
That's so sad. Let's throw them out of the doors.
Actually, since you can't choose to throw people out of the train, the thing that you can do, the strategy that you apply, is you basically send them to a carriage, and then you remove all power from that carriage, and they die horribly. That's,
Is that what you're doing now?
That's how it works! No, I'm not gonna do it now, because I don't need to kill them, Bob. Calm down,
So you basically
Hitler.
can silence
God
an entire
damn.
carriage if there's a risk that they may try to beat down your door.
Yeah, if you think someone's kind of, if you think someone's getting out of hand, you can, send them to the what do they call it? The open the airlock carriage or something. You know, you can just sort of
Just
shunt them down
yeah.
there. Or you can, if you want to waste a mission on them for some reason, you can send them on a mission and say, go search over there, really far away for 5 minutes, and don't come
Like,
back.
how does insurrection work inside of the cabins? Does it have to move forward between the carriages?
Okay, so I will explain that, but I am just going to press tab and just sort of let the day roll through. Basically, purges start from carriage 1, which is the carriage closest to you, and revolts start from carriage 10 and move towards the front.
Okay, so that makes sense, because carriage 1 is probably always going to be the one closest aligned to you, and then the rear less so.
Yeah, so you're most likely to have, Now, of course, if carriage 1 hates you, then yes, they will... The revolt can start there and push into you, but basically, when a revolt's triggered, it'll start from the end and push forward, or it'll stop... The, purges will start from the front and push back. I think that what that actually might mean is that if a purge starts from, say, carriage 8, I think it will only affect carriage 9 and 10, I think is what'll happen. I've actually never had a rebellion, because I've never been that bad at, well, I guess I've never let anyone get to that kind of situation and not thrown them out the airlock. But I've also never had a purge start from anywhere except carriage 1. And that is because, yeah, usually carriage 1 gets a lot of attention, so... they're usually pretty on top of the money here. So as you saw, I upgraded the train. I said to upgrade the medical. And I will, upgrade the structure as well. And you just kind of want to do this, in general. You just want to get all the upgrades are, they're tiered in the sense that you can pretty much upgrade any of the first upgrades overnight. And then the second ones take a bit longer, and the third ones take quite some time. So you kind of just want to get all 5 of the starter ones of tier 1, and then kind of start getting choosy about which ones you want. Now, there's nothing that this carriage is idle, and they're good at repairing carriages and building defenses. But I will, ask these guys to send them some scrap. So, you can only send it 1 at a time, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. They can just deal. The trick here is this carriage is mostly afraid of soldiers, but because they have a small amount of the salesman, if the other carriage, which is more weighted towards salesman, hits the salesman, then the salesman will show up here as well. You know, you gotta kind of try and juggle the numbers a little bit. It's a bit trickier. I'll just make these guys do 2 against the
That's
soldiers.
great, though, that
frankly,
they have to build sandbags in the carriage.
I noticed
Yeah,
there's
some
like
of
a...
the-
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, some of the things that they ask for is, or they try and make, is a bit confusing.
But I noticed there's like space for a 5th fear. Does one ever show up?
Yes, what has happened is that we have not had anyone who belongs to that specific chance of getting that fear has shown up in our train yet. So, if we were to pick up someone else, we would get someone. Let's upgrade power, because that's actually kind of really important. And that'll give us a longer battery that can store more. Which is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, quite important. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was a little message that came in. You get logs of the previous missions if you want them. And you can see we've got some information. There's some stuff at pits. There's some supplies at a factory. There's supplies at a gas station in Morgaton. There's some supplies at an asylum. No, I'm not going to an asylum in the middle of an apocalypse. That's dumb.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, that sounds perfectly safe.
I think I actually have been to one of the asylums and nothing went wrong at all, but, you know. You can see if you look closely at the map, there's a couple of places that weren't there before. Those are from the radio signals that we got, so we can divert to those if we really wanna.
Like, you don't want to go backwards, I'm assuming?
You can. Basically, you can sort of putt around, build up supplies, build up people gradually, and then try and make a run for the end of the game. So this game, it has this, like, again, another one of these interesting, cute features that don't really do anything. you can click that button and you can dispense with all of the notes without reading them. Since you kind of want to know what's in them, you wouldn't usually do that, but it is an option if you're like, I don't think I need to know what's in this. And here we go. Oh, sweet, another fear. Since this isn't a serious run, I'm quite happy to see what fears it's going to throw at me.
Oh, it's the salesman again. Of
Salesman again.
I can't tell.
What with Ding Dong?
Oh my god! Yeah, it's a salesman. I'm so shitting my pants over the salesman.
Man, that vault
Poser
deck
model
representative
trying
has
to
gotten
sell you a
really
vacuum
mean.
cleaner.
They're gonna get more people dead. This is really shit. Of all the fears, you get like the one that apparently kills people's limbs. Alright, let's leave it. Hey, no injuries! We did it!
Did anyone die?
No, no injuries either.
No. I think the injuries kind of scale depending on how many people you have in a cabin. Because, the cabin that had no defenses and only has 2 people did fine. But it could also be because maybe the, carriage 1, as again, I said, maybe they took the brunt of the damage. And I like this. She gave the salesman an exploding container, then kicked him back into the fog. That's exciting.
That sounds very Looney Tunes. I gotta say.
Some of the descriptions are, yeah, a little bit ridiculous, but I don't mind it. That's, it adds a little bit of levity to, a kind of somewhat dry game. Let's just get the rest of our upgrades. We upgraded power.
Sterile? Would that be the word?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a bit grungy to be truly sterile, but I agree. As you can see, there's a rail depot back here. Great, thanks guys. That's good timing. We're not going back for it.
You're not gonna go back for it?
Ooh, a thing appeared. It's a thing. This green flag is the Fearless, which I was going to explain at some point, so I'll talk about him now. So we got 2 messages here. So I could just shunt them and not read them, which makes no sense, or I could just double check so I know what's going on. All good. Basically, the Fearless are kind of exactly what they claim to be. They are not affected by the fog. And they're also psychotic killers and completely shitty. So you basically don't want to... Oh my god, it's the pods. I have like no defenses against these, but it's awesome. This is pretty cool. I like the horror effects in this. They're nice. And you can see there you go. Fog activity detected. Defenses engaged. It shows you the little thing. I am concerned because I don't know how much defense I actually had against the pods.
I think Carriage 2 had some defenses
whatever.
against it.
Did someone... Oh, yeah, attack. Defense is affected by rewind. I don't know what defense is affected by rewind means. I forget. You notice this message is bloody, because they actually took damage. I like that. It's a nice little,
How bad was it this time?
Don't know. Let's check. We can get the details when we check out the person. Okay, well, the guy who had amputation has now got parasites as well. Goddamn, Jerry. Just
No one likes Jerry. Come on now. You played Undertale. You know this.
Yeah, he just sits there and complains about the
You're gonna have to
Wi-Fi all
ditch
the
him
time.
at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna send Jerry off into the fog. That's where Jerry's ending up. Goodbye, Jerry.
Jerry.
Well, someone's not
Anyway,
gonna get pacifist ending.
You can kill Jerry in a
as you
pacifist
can
run.
see,
Oh, right.
as you can see, temporary effects, parasites, minor. So he's got parasites now, and it'll pass in a bit, and his stats will come back. So that's fine.
So what happens if you encounter the Fearless? You just can't stop there, or...?
You can. Basically, that's where God comes in handy again. Because the Fearless operate even when the fog is not currently activated. And you basically need a guard to drive the Fearless away. Otherwise, people will get killed by the Fearless.
I wonder why the Fearless are psychotic, and yet they're not affected by the
Yeah.
fog. That's kind of weird.
I'm wondering the same thing, personally.
So wait, aren't you at the location you need to be at here?
Not quite. I am now. It just took a little while.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. You told me it dings.
I don't have the person that I like. I accidentally didn't do the lottery, and I didn't rig it to send the people that I wanted to send. But that's okay. We got enough fuel to reach the hospital over here, and I think we could even reach the asylum. I'm not going to the asylum. If I get that noise. Clothing store has got moderate accessibility, so I probably wouldn't bother with the clothing store. But you'll notice that we have a shed load of messages that say, I heard there were some supplies at the clothing store at Pitts. And I don't think these messages are fake. I don't think they try and fake you out with, like, you go there and then there's a crazy guy that kills everyone. I don't think that happens. So we got good intel in the clothing store, which has 5 people in it, which is nice. And we have some good intel. We don't have any intel in the police station, but it's a very high accessibility, so that's really good. And nothing on the school, so those 5 children in the school, I'm sorry, they're gonna get amputated by salesmen, apparently, because we're not...
Why is that the most mundane
We're not gonna
thing
help
does
him.
the most damage? What is this salesman selling? Is he selling, like, hatchets or something, and he has to prove it like he does a market demonstration right there on the spot?
The person is in this room here. These people have a fixation with hiding in the bathroom.
I guess it kind of makes sense
It's
because
like-
in a tornado situation, they tell you to go into the bathroom because of the piping in the wall. No, not usually because it's
But it's
sealed
like-
from everything else, too.
I think it's more to just annoy me. Well, because the bathroom's kind of the worst place to go to, because they're generally small and they presumably don't have very much in them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the game will catch you out if you haven't assigned someone any objectives or goals. So that's very handy, because it means that you basically never accidentally sort of leave without something. Okay, so let's put resources at the very bottom. I'm pretty sure they're mostly going to find resources, but let's hit confirm. Shump. And here we go. But, because I don't want to keep you guys too long, I'll just hit tab.
Oh, you can actually just speed up the missions.
Yeah. Which is good, because that would be kind of annoying if you couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so we actually got a shotgun. So we got 2 shotguns, which is pretty much literally the most I've ever hauled in terms of... Like, this is the most items I've ever gotten in a run in this game, so that's kind of cool. Fog level didn't go up very much, 35% is not too bad. You can see it's mostly materials. Materials are better than scrap, though, so that's alright. We did get a single block of fuel, which is good, because that means we can almost get somewhere else. And, that's, that's the long and short of what we got. Our power went down by about half, which is,
You might be better off going to the school then, because that had a high chance or a high accessibility.
Yeah, unfortunately, the problem going... Just turn the power back on. I know that I'm not going to be able to make that second mission with the power off. It won't work.
Okay.
I'm just sending lots of people so that they have enough haulage, in case there's more than nothing in there. This is fine. I doubt you'll find much fuel in the shop floor of a clothing shop, but who knows. And this is going to be pretty tepid, so we'll just hit the
Wait,
search button.
it's blinking red. Oh, jeez.
I think it's a weird, like, speed-related thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hauling capacity 8, they found some materials and scrap. No fuel. So this is not the best run for fuel, I'll tell you that. Not the best. Anyway, we're good to go. We've got a couple more survivors in random carriage here. There's a bunch of fearless here. So I think the important thing to find out here, and this is important, is what happens when I press this button.
Oh. You just killed all your passengers, didn't you?
Don't press that button. Let's turn the power back on.
Are they all dead now?
Probably.
No, not everyone died.
Not everyone, but some people did.
Yeah, so you can press that button.
Hey, Jerry
and
Hill
then,
died, so
people
there
just
you go.
die. Yeah, eat it, Jerry! That was the best possible outcome for negligent button pressing.
Amazing.
But yeah, I had to show that this button thing here, this controls the power of the carriages. Is kind of like a general button switch. So don't accidentally press the bottom one, because that just turns off the power to all the carriages.
And it doesn't tell you that, I'm assuming, anywhere.
No, nothing tells you that. You just have to figure it out.
Not even the
So don't
manual
press it,
has
kids.
anything about the power distribution or settings?
I think it tells you that machine does it, but it doesn't tell you that the bottom button kills everyone.
So what happens if you just sit there and mash it like 3 times?
Well, I mean, what happens if you turn it on and then you start this time up again, you know?
Yeah, just sit there doing the whole light switch rave thing from
if you
Homestar Runner.
you just press it like that, and then you set the location to here, and then you plot it to full speed, and then you just go, and then you just wait, and you speed up.
Well, I guess that's the end of this run.
Yeah, so then you turn the power back on, and everyone's dead. They're all dead. They're dead. That's it. That's how everyone dies. That's it. You're trained by yourself.
So what if you just,
Great.
like, just go... Can you make it to the end of the game by yourself?
Yes, you can. You could. Very much so. You could build up the supplies, because you don't consume food. You could just build up enough fuel, press the button, and say, go!
Are there multiple endings?
I have finished the game, and I believe there are grades of ending. So, I think depending on how many people, predominantly, you ferry to the end of the game, you get a slightly different wording to the ending. Because I finished the game when I did my run of everyone died for no reason at one point for absolutely, I couldn't figure it out. The kill game bugged out. So this is what the train looks like when you got no thing, and this is one opportunity where you might want to actually hit the brake. Because you accidentally killed everyone.
Sometimes you, like, run out of fuel when you're by yourself.
You die.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
now that everyone's dead, I can actually send up another beacon. Yes, thank you. Woo.
What does the Hail Mary option do?
That's if you run out of fuel, and you have no, and you have people on board. Let's see, who are the new victims to come on board? These people. Good for them. That was a purge.
But there's only 2 people.
Did they kill the other person?
Well, if there were 2 guys in a train, one of them killed the other with a rock, would that be fucked up or what? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, this video's gonna be so dated.
Okay. I ran out of power, but I managed to run out of fuel this time without having the power cut out. Not really sure how I did it last time or what was supposed to happen. Okay, so now we have the option of Hail Mary. So we press Hail Mary, and it just says, you're about to send passengers into the fog to search for fuel. Odds of survival are low. Continue, yes.
Oh, so you just send people out to die. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Ah! Hey! He did it! Kenneth managed to do it! Holy shit, he found 7 fuel barrels?
Huh.
God damn,
Wow.
that guy is superhuman.
Where did he put them, though? Like, how big are these fuel containers?
We're in the middle of, like, friggin' the middle of, like, American farmland. There's nothing for hundreds of miles, and he's just like, I'm gonna go get some fuel.
Okay, you know, one of them died, so it's quite possible that 7 units of fuel is, in fact, a human body, so...
Just put it in the engine. Don't ask where I got it.
So I thought you were going to say that he just used the other dude's dead body as like a sled for the fuel barrels.
Well, that could be the case, too. I mean, you know, you gotta make do with what you got.
And that's, you know, that's what the Hail Mary is. You don't want to have to use it, but, if you run out of fuel, you have to use it. It kind of makes fuel not as important as the other thing. So, that's fear equation, basically. So here's this guy's reward. I'll turn the power off to the carriage. Good job, man. Well done. You did it.
The American dream.
And that's fair equation. Now I got 7 lots of fuel. I can steamroll my way to salvation. Thanks, chump. So once you get done with the base game, there is actually custom options where you can basically have a bunch of extra little features and cards. So
Silent running.
the radio is sometimes stuck on show tunes. Some days the computer just won't switch on. Fog stays for longer. And the military don't really care about you, you know. So there's oh, it did it bug out? Great, bugged out. Guy, I'm trying to demonstrate the game and you just bug out. Gotta stop doing this on me. Okay, I won't. Alright, whatever. So yeah, it's a little buggy.
Quality.
The main game works, like, most of the time it works. And I think they're patching it a little bit here and there, so, you know. But yeah, so there are actually, like, other conditions that you can run. There is a beginner mode as well, if the game is too hard for you. In fact, I was playing on normal mode, and 2 of these cards are listed as easy and beginner. And you can also build your own engineer with, 4 modifiers as well. And yeah, you can take pictures of your friends and make them passengers as well if you really want to, so.
An entire train just filled with porn stars. There you go. That's what you gotta do.
You could fill it with porn stars, you could fill it with Jerry's, you could fill it with whatever you want. I think it'd be great if you replaced all of it with Jerry from Undertale, but also Jerry from Rick and Morty.
What about Jerry Seinfeld?
And Jerry Seinfeld, and we have all of the Jerrys you could ever
Jerry
want.
Springer.
And you have the Jerry Train, man. Yeah. Get on it, right?
Reenact that one ABC show, Super Train, or whatever it was. The really bad Love Boat knockoff.